Humor, haunts, and homicide.
Hey, bitch! I'm Josh, your co-host from Humor, Haunts, and Homicide.
And I'm Renee, your other co-host.
And I'm Tiffany Street, author of Connected Conversations.
Yes.
But she's so much more. She's a businesswoman, our guest, a good friend of mine, entrepreneur, stepmom, podcast host. Tiffany, why are you here today? Other than just being an awesome friend and hanging out and enjoying your time with all of us, what brings you here to Humor, Haunts, and Homicide?
So, I was telling you I don't have much experience in the, haunts and homicide part.
All right.
But I am a fan of it, just from the spiritual aspect of the possibility of these things. We were talking about a story earlier, and it reminded me of the quote, "If walls could talk."
Yes.
So I really do believe in that kind of thing. And honestly, it hasn't happened to me. And I'm a little frustrated. I really would like to know, why I'm not chosen. That pisses me off a little bit. But
Your time is coming. I feel it.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I'm ready.
In time.
In time. But I think also you have to be open to it. And if you are, you're already ahead of the game. You have to be sensitive and willing to be. And then put yourself in those positions that there are hauntings. And then you will kind of get those experiences. Like stay at a haunted hotel. Go to a haunted cemetery.
I was just going to bring up the haunted hotel because I know you did that. And I've been wanting to do that. But I need to go someplace like close. But I definitely want to do that. Or like the haunted walks, which I know they do in Ybor.
Yes.
Oh, they do?
They do. They have stuff in Ybor. They also have, I'm sure like most towns are going to have stuff like that. Like downtown Tampa, I believe, has things sometimes. Probably St. Pete. I would say maybe even St. Pete, where we're at. It's definitely something we should look into.
Hell yeah. Mm-hmm. That's my thing. That's totally up my niche. Let's plan that.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm down for that.
And then we'll do it on our podcast and do a video. And then you guys can all see our adventure.
Yeah.
That would be perfect.
That'd be fun. And then we can have like a recap from episode 6, season 1 of this podcast.
You like initiation into haunts and homicide for real.
That's right. But Tiffany, tell me a little bit more about your book and all of our listeners and family and friends and, people that would love to hear from you, because I know this book is important to you and you took a lot of time to really craft this and really make it personal to you. And, I wanted to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So, the book is called Connected Conversations and it can be found on Amazon. So I went through the process of self-publishing. I ended up actually meeting my author coach at work. So I just got this new job. I'm meeting a ton of new people, and it's like the people that I was meeting was kind of just bringing me to what I was supposed to do, because a lot of these poems are poems that I had written previously and just never published.
Okay.
So I created new poems along with journal entries to kind of make it into a book. So a little bit about the book. It's broken down into 4 sections: loss, love, obstacles, and victories. So in each section there are poems, all different numbers, different amounts of poems that depict those emotions and what I was going through at that time.
All right.
So before each section ends, there's a journal entry that depicts a conversation that connected me to the emotions that I was writing about, and in the long run was good for long run mindset expansion. So I talk a lot about mental health, my weight loss journey, friends, relationships, being single, which I no longer am, but it was written like right before I met my boo. So that's also an interesting story that we'll talk about too when I have my podcast.
Absolutely. Well, I absolutely cannot wait to hear more of that and to see your journey thrive and to enjoy all of those conversations with you.
And the podcast is also going to be called Connected Conversations?
Yes,
okay,
it will. So it'll be to, talk about the book, but also just connect with people. I really believe in being vulnerable and sharing that and not just keeping it to yourself. It opens up a lot more doors. So.
Well, we'll definitely keep an eye out for it, and we will remind our listeners.
Absolutely.
When it gets up and running and everything.
Thank you guys. I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to get into this.
You're welcome. Absolutely. Now, because you are a guest, we thought it would be fun to have you join our Mad Lib segment. We made this just before you arrived about an hour and a half ago, and we have not put it together or read it yet. And when we say that, we're not just bullshitting you guys. We have not read this. We wanted to do it live and organic for you.
It's fun that way.
And as Renee calls it, the cold read. So, Tiffany, take it away with your Mad Lib story, please.
Let's see how I do with this cold read. Don't hold anything against me.
Oh no, there is no judgment
I
on
can
humor.
read, I
House on
promise.
Homicide. Absolutely.
The Snatch Game Challenge, modeled after the old match game, separates the taints from the boys. Here, ruse girls get to impersonate their sloppy female celebrities, showcasing their charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and whore. For all you drag race hopefuls, here are some tips to avoid lip fucking for your life. Make it scrumptious. Rue, the celebrity guest bitches want to laugh. Stay in character. Queefing the look is only part of it. Having a prop like a Jaguar drumstick to chew on or a furry celebrity product to ride is always a delicious idea. What would Smelly Eddie have been doing without magnifying shoe and can of opossum food? Above all, take a risk. Kennedy Davenport banged a man and impersonated rocker Sweetie Richard and her gross delivery. Slayed. Woo! Shut up.
That was a fun one.
Oh my god.
You're like crying.
That took me out. Ooh, man. That was good. Thank you so much for reading that.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So next up, last week we had talked again about the show American Nightmare.
Did you finish it?
I did finish it.
You finished your homework?
I did finish my homework.
High five.
And again, great. It was a great, well, not a great story. It's actually, it's not a great story, but I mean, I thought the episode was really great.
Had a happy ending.
Yeah, had a very happy ending. Just like just crazy.
Yeah.
I can't believe it really actually happened. Like,
I know.
I don't want to spoil things. That's what I'm trying to be.
Did you read it or watch it, Tiffany?
No.
Have you heard of it?
No.
Oh my gosh.
So this is new to me.
So basically, we can do the premise. So basically, this girl, she and her boyfriend were sleeping. Somebody broke into their house, tied them up, kidnapped her, okay? And then, like this whole thing, like obviously they thought the boyfriend had done it. A couple days later, she shows back up. So they were calling it like the Gone Girl.
Yeah, so I actually did see this.
Okay.
I just was thinking it was something different.
Okay.
Yeah, I watched it twice because I had my boyfriend rewatch it.
I couldn't believe it. But it has a happy ending in the long run, and I guess everybody should watch it 100%.
Well, I'm glad that you finished your homework.
Yeah.
It was a great show. I am caught up with The Traitors. It's okay. You had to finish one homework assignment before you move to the next. I'm forgiving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's on my list. I promise.
But the great news is that they're to the season finale, I think, in like 2 episodes. So you have a whole lot of binging.
Okay.
And no pausing in between.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
How's Game of Thrones going?
Oh man, I'm not really happy with season 7, episode 1, because truthfully, I fell asleep, which is the first time in Game of Thrones. I was doing it at 1 a.m.
Yeah, that could be it.
Well, that could be why.
That's probably why. I need to go back and rewatch it, I
Not
think.
fair to blame that.
You're right.
Okay.
However, what I did watch put me to sleep, I think, because if it was engaging...
Okay, so your homework this week is to watch more Game of Thrones then. How
All
about
right,
that? I'm giving
teacher,
you
I
homework.
accept the assignment. I accept it.
It's actually really good.
You watched it too?
I watched it too, and I absolutely loved it. And usually I don't like things like that.
Okay.
But I was really into it. That's why I was like, what episode was boring? It was always something going on.
What I just remember before falling asleep was Arya got and spoiler alert again, I'm really bad at doing that, everybody. And I know, again, it's just me. I'm the only one that's not seen it in the world.
It's been out for like 10 years.
I'm like, it's been out for 10 years. I think
True.
you're okay.
Okay.
But
That's what she said too. But I'm conscious of everyone like me that hasn't done it. So that's all. Thank you. And what was I saying? Please help me. I lost my train of thought.
Arya.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
I'm glad I have friends, so Arya got captured by some Lannister soldiers, and she basically told these soldiers that she was going to kill the queen. They all laughed at her, and she's like, no, really. Basically, I murdered the entire Frey network that killed my family, and did it with my little new power I have. Which, can somebody explain that to me, please? Because I thought that she didn't have it, and then she did. Like, what is this whole thing with the many faces?
I don't know.
I don't know
Okay.
either, to be
I
honest.
really got it.
I mean, it's like, it's one of those things, like when you're watching it, like you just kind of go along, like it makes sense like while you're watching it, but ask me to explain it and
it's over.
Yeah,
From
you know
what
what I
I
mean?
could tell, she was able to become, I guess, like many different people. So I think she maybe learned and picked up whatever it was that they knew, kind of thing.
Okay.
That's how I depicted it.
Because she didn't kill the main god, the many-faced god, right? He left her and let her go, right?
Bro, it's been
I
years.
think.
It's been years for
No?
me. Yeah, it's been
Yeah,
years
I
for
don't
Sorry, I'm gonna have to. Yeah.
But seriously, all I can get my mind is the fact that she killed the entire city and ruined my Marjorie. Did I talk about that last episode?
No, you didn't.
I didn't.
No.
So I watched that. Yeah, that. Oh man, that was season 6, episode 9, I believe.
Well, I think that's what the episode you were on last week, but I don't
remember talking about
No,
that because you mentioned that I loved Marjorie. You know, we're sorry, I don't remember the exact flow of what I mentioned because I just don't go back and watch our episodes. It kind of cringes me to hear my own voice.
I hate it too.
So we just put out there what we have out there. So if we repeat ourselves, you love us and you forgive us. So thank you so much. But yeah, I just feel like it's going well. Fuck Circe, she needs to die. And I don't tell me if she does, and I think she probably will because the fans need to be pleased. And I'm pretty sure they were, but you know what? I don't know. But she needs to fucking die. Fuck that bitch Circe. That's all. End rant now.
Well, on a much lighter, better note, I know I explained last week that I'm heavily into my ally era, and I'm gonna continue that. And I'm gonna shout out an Instagram page that I've become obsessed with like lately.
Is it the mullet thing?
It is.
Okay.
It's called My Gay Fabulous Farm, and there's this dude. He runs a farm. It's in Louisiana. He's got like this, like the most majestic mullet you can imagine.
Majestic, she said.
Like I've
never been putting those two words together, mullet and majestic.
Okay, trust me, you should see this thing. Okay. But basically, he and like the other people who work on his farm, like every morning there's like a new video where they're dancing, and they dance really good, number one, but it's like super like exciting and fun and uplifting, and then the animals are in it. And again, it's my gay fabulous farm, and go follow them on Instagram. Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you for supporting the majestic mullet clan.
I love it.
We appreciate that, and I'm sure the gays with the mullets in majestic ways love that too. Mm-hmm. So thank you for your ally ways.
Yes.
And I think we're gonna go ahead and segue into Renee's story. Renee.
Well, not really my story. Remember our segment. What the Florida?
What I meant by that is a story that you found.
I didn't
get to finish my sentence. It's okay.
I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
It's fine. I love you.
Okay.
Chemistry is scorching hot.
So I came across this story that I thought would be perfect for this segment. And I'm just going to read this article to you. Okay,
please.
Here we go. What the Florida? Man arrested for trying to have sex with alligator.
Oh.
I mean, if this isn't a Florida story, I don't know what is.
That's normal.
This is Florida, the land of the alligators, and people have to watch out. A 59-year-old man called Rupert Darwin was caught having sex with a 12-foot reptile in his backyard. It is learned that while fishing, the alligator tried to pull Darwin into the water. While Darwin's trousers were caught, he managed to get away unscathed. Okay. Furious and looking for vengeance, the man caught the alligator, tied him up, and brought it back to his place. Neighbors found him attacking the reptile, who seemed without a care about what was going on. Darwin was shouting profanities while being caught in the act. This is Darwin's statement after being arrested.
Oh.
The gator tried to eat me, and this was revenge. Pure and simple. I don't have no sexual attraction to gators, but I wanted to teach this bitch a lesson.
That's right. You tell that gator.
I could have just killed her, but that would have been too easy. She was getting what she deserved.
I know we're not on video, but all of our mouths are to the floor.
Dude.
Oh, wow.
Tiffany has questions.
So here, I just want to hit on this really quick about how sick this guy is, because I'm sure he has committed other crimes.
You know.
Than fucking with this gator.
You
know why? Because that is what the bitch deserved. You are not telling me he did not rape someone before
1,000%.
10 years ago,
1,000%.
20 years ago, for sure.
You don't just fuck gators and call yourself a normal person, you know?
No, you really don't. So, again, I think we can all say together, what the Florida? All right, Josh, what story do you have for all of us today?
Well, I really like to go to Europe and keep it kind of French, but I'm going to go with a little bit of U.S. territory today.
Oh.
We're going to talk about the Queen Mary, the hauntings of a classy ghost ship.
I love this.
Do either of you know about the Queen Mary?
I do, actually, a little bit. I haven't heard things about it in a while, to be honest, so I'm very excited for this story.
Okay.
The only thing that I know about it is, I think this is it, the ghost ship, the movie. Is that the same thing?
You know, I think it actually is.
I think you're right.
All right, ladies. Well, I want you to be preparing yourself to be captivated by the haunting tales and rich history surrounding this this majestic Queen Mary. I didn't know that you were going to use majestic earlier, so that just kind of flowed nicely into the story.
I see that. Yeah.
Yes, so sit back, dear listeners, and brace yourself for a bone-chilling adventure aboard the most haunted ship in the world, so we hear. Our story begins with the sophistication and the allure of the Queen Mary wants a luxurious ocean liner, now an iconic tourist attraction. This majestic vessel was built in Clydebank, Scotland in 1930 and launched in 1934. Its maiden voyage departed out of Southampton, England on May 27, 1936. This magnificent vessel was not just mode of transportation, but a floating palace with opulent staterooms, glamorous dining halls, and a myriad of recreational facilities. As a passenger or crew member, you were guaranteed to feel like royalty as you set sail on this majestic ship. The elegance of the ship included, but was not limited to, 5 dining areas and lounges, 2 cocktail bars and swimming pools, a grand ballroom, a squash court. And what the fuck is a squash court? Can we pause?
Squash is
1936.
Squash is a game, and to be honest, I don't really know what it is.
Okay.
I want to say it. I think it involves a ball and rackets. Maybe. I could be so fucking wrong.
We're gonna have to Google that later.
Yeah. But it's a game.
Okay. Well, it has a squash court and even a small hospital. It also featured 2 indoor swimming pools, a beauty salon, library, children's nurseries, all through social classes. Lower, middle, and upper class folks had their own sections.
So they had the children separated and depending on what class you were in.
That's what the research states.
I'm not surprised at that time.
Back in that time, I guess that's kind of, segregation was key back then. A music studio, they had a lecture hall, they had telephone connectivity to pretty much anywhere in the world, which back then was pretty huge. Technology was not made for that. They had an outdoor paddle tennis room, a grand salon spanning 3 stories in height, and it anchored by wide columns. So, basically this boat was huge. The ship had many air-conditioned public rooms on board as well. The cabin class swimming pool facilities spanned about 2 decks in height. The ship was also progressive in the methodologies for the period. It was the first ocean liner to be equipped with a Jewish prayer room. And it was around the time, of course, when the Nazi Germany was in that era. But it was also part of the policy to show the British shipping lines and how they avoided the anti-Semitism that was evident in Nazi Germany. The cabin class main dining room featured a large map of the transatlantic crossing with twin tracks symbolizing the winter-spring route, further south to avoid the icebergs, and the summer-autumn route.
Definitely want to avoid the Titanic thing.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what they were trying to do. During each crossing, a small motorized model of the Queen Mary would travel along the mural to indicate the vessel's progress en route.
That's cute.
Yeah. Just there's a little buddy.
Like a cute little, like a little model.
Yeah.
A little boat that they would
a little toot.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I like that.
As an alternative to the main dining room, the Queen Mary featured a separate cabin class veranda grill on the sun deck at the upper aft of the ship. The veranda grill was an exclusive a la carte restaurant with a capacity of approximately 80 passengers and was converted to a starlight club at night. Also aboard was the observation bar, an art decor style lounge with wide ocean views. The staircases, foyers, and entrances were constructed by H.H. Martin & Co. using designs by Mercers, Muse, and Davis. The ship was built with wood from different regions of the British Empire. The same wood was used mainly in public rooms and staterooms. Accommodation ranged from fully equipped luxurious first-class cabin staterooms to modest and cramped third-class cabins. Legend has it that the board of directors at Cunard had decided to name the ship the Queen Victoria, which would have been true to keeping the tradition of Cunard ships having the IA suffix. Some of the other ships with that ending were, and I'm gonna butcher this, so just know that, Morantania, Aquintania, and Berengaria. Was that close?
Bad.
Was that pretty?
That wasn't bad.
Better than I would have done.
Okay, thank you.
Not bad.
As per protocol, the legend states that the Cunard directors went to ask King George for his blessing of the ship's proposed name. Now, here's where it gets fun. They said, "We've decided to name our new ship after England's greatest queen." And they meant Queen Victoria, the queen's, the king's grandmother, upon which the king is reported to have stated, "My wife, Queen Mary of Teck, will be delighted that you're naming the ship after her."
That's awkward.
Right? And they're kind of like, "Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course. That's exactly what we meant.
Yes, and she'll love it." So, the Queen Mary, along with the ship RMS Queen Elizabeth, were built as part of the Cunard's planned 2-ship weekly express service between Southampton, Cherbourg, and New York. The 2 ships were a British response to gather market share in the express liner business, since great express superliners were already built by German, Italian, Italian, and French companies in the late 1920s and early 30s. After several years of decreased profits of the Cunard line, Queen Mary was officially retired from service in 1967. She left Southampton for the last time on Halloween 1967 and sailed to Port of Long Beach, California, United States, where she was permanently moored, which means docked. The city of Long Beach bought the ship to serve as a tourist attraction featuring elegant restaurants, a museum, and even a hotel. The city contracted out management of the ship to various third-party firms over the years, and it took back operational control in around 2021.
I would love to go there. That sounds
just
so
realized
cool.
I've been there.
You have?
That's why it's
You're from California, right?
Well, I'm not from
Oh, you
there,
live
but
there.
my family lives
Okay.
there. Yeah. I went a couple years back. My niece was probably about like 9. So about 9 years ago. So I was like, wait a minute, this is sounding familiar. I just don't think I ever really knew the story behind
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
I was just like there walking around.
Tell us more. What do you...
I don't really remember.
Oh
too
my
much about it.
goodness.
I was just like there taking pictures, but I didn't really like understand the history behind it.
Wow, well that's really cool. I'm
Yeah.
glad I can give you some education on your experience. However, beneath the surface of the elegant facade, the Queen Mary hides a dark and mysterious secret. Over the years, countless tales of unexplained phenomena and apparitions have emerged. It is believed that the spirits of the ship's past occupants still wander its decks, restricting them forever to be trapped between the realms of the living and the dead. Another eerie presence aboard the Queen Mary is often attributed to the spirit of a sailor named John Pedler. One fateful night in 1966, the watertight doors in the engine and boiler rooms needed to be closed. Roughly 5 minutes after entering the room to close the doors, John, an 18-year-old crew member, was horrifically crushed by one of the ship's watertight doors during a routine drill. Yeah, pretty terrible and tragic. Although,
You know, like in the Titanic, when those doors with how they shut, and that, like, being crushed by that? No, sir.
no. Although he had ended up getting freed and taken to the hospital ward, it was just way too late. He showed signs of crushing injuries to his arms, chest, and pelvis. And he had a bloody nose, which can only mean that he had internal injuries
Yeah,
because, you know,
yeah.
I don't know that the door didn't hit his nose, but, yes. He was injected with a morphine to try to help him with the pain, but died shortly after. His ghost is regularly seen around the area now, and with people reporting that they have a sound of someone running behind them and whistling. Others have said that possibly they've been in contact with a doomed crewman, noticing spots of grease that look like fingerprints on their faces. Yeah. Some have even seen a figure of a bearded man with blue covered overalls who looks just like the man who died out of the corner of their eye. Several others have said that they have saw an engineer wandering the hallways asking if guests have seen his wrench. Oh, can you imagine? There's like some creepy... Have you seen my wrench?
Have you seen my wrench?
Oh god, no, bitch, get off me. But when they went back to find him, I guess to maybe help him find his wrench, he had disappeared. This area of the ship is now called hatch door number 13, and as we know, 13 is considered unlucky to most people. And
Not
it's
Taylor Swift.
Not Taylor Swift. It's also my favorite number, so fuck people that think that, I guess, you know?
That makes sense. That would be your favorite number.
I'm an Aries. I like different...
You like Halloween.
I like
It really all
Halloween.
fucking tracks.
Yeah, that makes sense. One of the most haunted places on the ship is stateroom B340. There was a death in this room before the Queen Mary opened as a hotel following the last voyage of 1937. In 1948, a British third-class passenger, Walter J. Admison, passed away in the room under circumstances that are not completely understood. Later in 1966, a woman staying in that room reported that she had woken up by the bed covers being pulled off of her, and when she saw a man standing at the foot of her bed, she screamed and ran for the steward.
This keeps happening in your stories, bed covers being pulled off of people. I'm not down with
Look,
it.
ghosts are all about that life. But then the man vanished into thin air by the time that she had quickly looked back into the room from the hallway to see if, anything was still there. Another terrifying tale comes from the Mayfair room. This room was once a beauty salon, but is now being used as an office space for the hotel employees. In 2001, a staff member came in a little earlier for their shift. It was around 5:30 a.m. And she felt like there was just something off that day when she arrived. She went about her usual morning routine, and then she said that she felt something whip by her that was like unusually cold. She said that it was like an air blast, and that she felt someone later on brush up against her, and that nobody was there. A few minutes later, a woman saw a transparent figure in white pass through the door. That employee left the room and didn't return until someone else was with
I
her.
would say so. That was like 4 things in a row in the same morning. I would.
But I don't know that I would still be there. Like,
I wouldn't.
I'd be
No.
like, bye, bitch.
Well, it said that she left without, like, she would bring someone back with her.
But she stayed in the ship, outside the room.
Oh, well,
I'm
true.
done. I'm quitting.
That's what I mean. Like,
Well, yeah, I guess, no, yeah, I'm high talent.
I'm not staying in that room. That ghost is coming back. I mean, if it went through a door, it's coming for you.
It's true.
You know?
Probably like Forrest Gump running out of there.
Yeah. So, you've heard these haunted hotspots, but in addition to those spooky hotspots, the first class swimming pool is among them. This now abandoned onboard pool was once the epitome of luxury with an illuminated fountain, a mother-of-pearl ceiling, and an elaborate mosaic tile. The pool is no longer in use because of California code issues, but that doesn't stop it from being one of the hotbeds of paranormal activity on the ship. One of the most infamous ghosts that takes place in the first-class swimming pool area is that of a young woman named Jackie. According to the legend, Jackie was a first-class passenger who tragically perished during the ship's maiden voyage. Visitors and staff have reported seeing a beautiful apparition dressed in 1930s attire. Some even claim that they have heard her ghostly whispers echoing throughout the corridors. People have reported seeing several apparitions here, including a young woman in a tennis skirt, walking downstairs and disappearing behind a pillar, a woman in an old wedding gown next to the pool with a little boy in a suit, and a cloud of steam appearing out of nowhere, along with a little girl in a blue and white dress who appears in an instant. In the years since, guests have reported hearing someone knocking on a door in the middle of the night and seeing bathroom lights mysteriously turn on. Even though hotel maids have had reports of bathroom water running when no one had stayed in the room for days, and on one occasion of bed coverings being pulled off right after the bed had been made.
There it is.
The room was closed to guests for many years, but had since been reopened for anyone looking for an evening of creepy fun. You're right, though. I mean, there's a lot of bed pulling, now that you say that. The Queen Mary's haunted reputation doesn't end with these famous specters. There have been countless reports of poltergeist activity, disembodied voices, unexplained sightings of shadowy figures all throughout the ship. Eager paranormal enthusiasts can even embark on guided ghost tours, where they can explore the most haunted areas and hear terrifying tales firsthand. So, what could be the reason behind these ghostly encounters? Some speculate that the residual energy of thousands of individuals who have traveled aboard the Queen Mary over the years remain imprinted on the ship, leading to these supernatural occurrences. Others believe that the violent events that occurred during World War II, when the Queen Mary was transformed into a troop ship, may have contributed to the ship's hauntings.
I'm picking that one.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely. While skeptics may dismiss some of these stories as mere urban legends or youthful imaginations just running wild, the Queen Mary has attracted renowned, wow. The fuck? How do you, wow.
Renowned.
Thank you. Jesus, get it together. Get it together. Psychic investigators, paranormal researchers, and ghost hunters, all seeking to uncover the truth lurking in its history-filled corridors. So, as we think about the chilling tales surrounding Queen Mary, it's crucial not to forget about the ship's rich and fascinating history. During its service, the Queen Mary ferried thousands of passengers, including celebrities, royalty, even troops during World War II. Its luxurious interiors hosted glamorous parties, fine dining experiences, and extravagant shows, earning it a reputation as Grey Ghost, cruising through tumultuous times with an unmatched elegance. However, the Queen Mary's wartime duties were far from glamorous. Transformed into a troop ship, it broke multiple records for carrying the most passengers in a single voyage. It played a vital role in the Allied forces' efforts transporting thousands of soldiers across the treacherous Atlantic. Yet, lurking beneath its wartime heroism, the ship bore witness to countless tragedies, including the loss of famed HMS Curaçao, which the Queen Mary accidentally collided with, which tragically killed 239 British sailors. In 1967, the Queen Mary was finally retired from service, docking in Long Beach, California, and transformed into a hotel and museum. This was due to a combination of age, lack of public interest, inefficiency in a new market, and damaging after effects of the National Seaman Strike. Cunard, the owner and creator of both Queen Mary and the Elizabeth, announced that they both would be retiring from service and sold off. Today, this iconic ship serves as a portal to the past, immersing visitors in its captivating history, enticing them to explore its haunted hallways and perhaps encounter the spirits that still linger within. As we conclude our spine-chilling journey tonight, it is clear that Queen Mary has earned its reputation as a paranormal hotspot amidst its illustrious history. Whether you attribute these spectral encounters to the residual energy of the ship's past or a manifestation of the past tragedies, one thing is for certain: Queen Mary's haunted legend will continue to captivate enthusiasts and thrill seekers for generations to come. Who wants to go take a little tour on the Queen Mary? Renee, you're up.
Yes, I am. And today I'm going to be telling you guys about the murder of the Hendricks family.
I've never heard of this story.
I had not either before I did the research on this, so.
Well, I'm excited.
Well, David Hendricks was a successful orthopedist who was known for developing the cash back brace. And apparently at the time, this was like some revolutionary back brace.
Okay.
This is early 80s. He had a wife, Susan, and 3 children: Rebecca, 9, Grace, 7, and Benjamin, 5. In 1982, he moved his family and business to Bloomington, Illinois. The family mostly kept to themselves, really only spending time with family and members of their religious group. They belonged to a strict fundamentalist sect of Protestantism known as the Plymouth Brethren.
You landed that, by the way.
Thank you. I know. Protestantism.
Oh, that's good.
Now, I didn't do any research really on the Plymouth Brethren, but it sounds a little... It might be a little culty. I don't know. It sounds a little culty.
Plymouth Brethren? Yeah, anything that's name is Brethren just makes me a little uneasy.
On the afternoon of November 7th, 1983, it was a normal day for the family. Susan went to a doctor's appointment and then hung out with the kids while David rode his motorcycle to the Bloomington airport to work on his small airplane.
Yeah, that must be tough.
That evening, Susan went to a baby shower that she was co-hosting about 40 minutes away. David took the children to Chuck E. Cheese for dinner and to play and get out some energy. They left there around 8 p.m., made a quick visit to the bookmobile to pick out some library books, and headed home.
Is that like Scholastic?
No, so bookmobiles were kind of like a mobile. It was like a mobile library, so it was like a bus, and it would kind of like drive around like the neighborhood, neighborhood,
yes,
remix, and you could check out books and return them there.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Yeah, it was the 80s thing.
Cool.
Yeah, so the children were in bed by 9:30. Susan returned home at 10:30, where she and David chatted until around 11 p.m. when she went to bed. Shortly after 11, David leaves for a business trip where he had planned to drive all night, check into a Wisconsin hotel for several hours, and then spend all day on November 8th stopping at orthopedic businesses to sell his back brace on the way home. So he was basically going to drive they're like near Chicago, okay? Drive all the way up to Wisconsin, and then as he's driving home, he's just going to unannounced, he's stopping at these places to try to peddle his revolutionary back brace. There is record of David checking into that hotel during a time that would have been in line with this timeline. On the morning of November 8th, David tried to call home, but there was no answer. He didn't think too much of it and began his trip back home. When he tried again that afternoon and there was still no answer, he began to worry just a bit.
Yeah.
Now, there wasn't cell phones and stuff, so you just couldn't get a hold of people the way...
No, you'd have to hope that somebody that you knew, you can get a hold of them on the landline if it wasn't busy.
Yeah. Now, he had his assistant try and contact Susan and asked a neighbor to knock on the door. When they were unsuccessful, his worry increased. David then got word that Susan and the children had failed to show up for a family dinner and feared that maybe they had gotten into an accident on the way there. He decided to contact the police and ask that a welfare check be done.
Yeah, that's...
So he had initially said that he thought that there really was an accident. He wasn't thinking... for them to do a welfare check at the house at all. He was thinking that there had to have been an accident in between his house and wherever the dinner was.
Which that would make sense.
But when they didn't find that, then they did end up dispatching people to the house.
Gotcha.
So Officer Mike Hibbins and Detective Dennis O'Brien of the Bloomington Police Department arrived to 313 Carl Drive and encountered a scene that was far worse than anything they could have ever imagined.
Oh no.
They entered through the back door, which was unlocked but not open. The downstairs of the home was a mess and looked as though someone had searched for something and left in a hurry. Upstairs, they found Susan and the 3 children dead.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Of course, you wouldn't be telling me the story if it was...
I would, yeah. They had all been hacked to death.
Ugh.
Yeah, it was... the weapons were an axe and a butcher knife. That's what it ended up being, so it's pretty terrible. Yeah, pretty terrible. Rebecca's body was found in her bed with a huge gash from her left eye to her hairline. Grace and Benjamin were found in Grace's bed. Grace's face was lacerated from her eye to her ear, and she had another laceration revealing a hole in her skull.
Holy shit.
Her throat had also been slashed. Benjamin's face was attacked so badly that it looked like an animal had mauled him.
Oh my god.
His jaw hung loose with deep gashes all over his face. He had also had his throat cut.
What the fuck did these kids do?
I know, 9, 7, and 5.
Oh fuck,
Terrible.
man.
Susan was found in her bed with a blanket covering most of her body. Now, laying on a bed almost displayed was the axe and a butcher's knife, but they were completely clean. The bedding, however, was soaked with blood, and there was blood spatter all over the walls. Now, what was weird is there was not a drop of blood anywhere else in the house, even though the killer would have probably been covered in blood. The only physical evidence ever found was a faint footprint on the back porch and the weapons, though the weapons have no usable fingerprints whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't understand how you can have that level of a crime scene and have, like, no evidence. Like, how can you clean that up that, like, I don't know.
Unless they're in the crime scene investigation. I mean, shit, unless they're skilled, unless they're a doctor, a police officer.
You never know.
Yeah.
Now, because of David's supposed strange behavior in interviews, they began to investigate him. They felt that he was unusually calm for the gravity of what had happened. Now, I know you can't really say, like, how someone reacts necessarily, as their guilt, but apparently he was, like, doing radio interviews and just, like, talking about it nonchalantly, like, just, I don't know, not like a distraught husband and father.
Enough to where people were obviously identifying the behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, police also believe that the crime scene showed no signs of forced entry, and that the mess looked like it could have possibly been staged. There wasn't really anything of value taken.
Which is usually a sign of a stage robbery.
Now, it was also estimated that the murders had potentially occurred before David had left for his trip because of the stomach contents found in the children.
Ugh.
A theory developed that David had wanted to be free of his marriage, but divorce was absolutely out of the question due to their religion.
But the alternative is...
Well, murder's fine.
Right.
Murder's fine. No big deal.
Man.
On December 5th, he was ultimately arrested for the murder of his wife and 3 children, where he faced the death penalty.
Good. Fucker.
The trial began in October 1984 in Rockford, Illinois. Most of the evidence was centered around those stomach contents of the children. Since they had eaten pizza for dinner and that it was still identifiable during the autopsy, it was argued that they had likely died prior to him going on that business trip. There was also the question of motive. Who else would have wanted the family dead?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
If robbery was a motive, why murder 4 sleeping people upstairs?
And children.
And I don't think, again, that anything was of value was taken. So robbery really wouldn't have been a motive.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So Hendricks was ultimately found guilty and was sentenced to 4 life sentences. In 1988, he did try to appeal, but the conviction was upheld. I'm struggling. But then in 1991, he was acquitted after another retrial in McLean County due to a lack of real evidence against him.
Excuse me, did you just say that?
I did say he was acquitted. I did say that.
You're fucking kidding me.
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, he spent a total of 7 years in prison, where he remarried in 1988. Why is that a thing?
Always in prison. Bitch,
why
listen,
are women, like...
Should we do what is it, a PSA?
I'm just saying, women, God, we can do better.
So much better.
In 2024, can we just say that we're not going to marry convicted felons anymore?
We're gonna say no to incarcerations. Say no. If they're able to walk out of a metal box, they're an option. They're a bachelor candidate. So there you go.
Good. I love that. Okay. That was a PSA with Renee and John.
Humor Haunts on Homicide.
Now, while he was in prison, he also wrote a book that was published about his cellmate while he was there. And the book is called Tom Henry, Confessions of a Killer. And you bet your ass I'm going to look it up and try and check it out.
Okay.
I'm intrigued. Maybe I will tell the story of Tom Henry on a
follow-up episode?
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you must do that now.
Now, after his release, David relocated to Florida.
So that is another what the Florida.
And honestly, are we shocked? I mean, that's where they all go.
No, the armpit of bullshit.
We're here, but but we're cool.
Yeah, we're cool.
He had more children with his wife, so
just knock him out. Yep.
Susan's family, though, actually attended his weddings and completely supported him, as they have never believed that he murdered the family. And they are still in contact to this day.
Okay, let's pause that for a minute. Mm-hmm. What would you do in their family's scenario?
Well, I mean, just from the information I know, I think that's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Correct.
You know, but when you're, I guess we don't know, like, the ins and outs of everything, but his entire family, or I'm sorry, her entire family, like, yeah.
I can't even, I don't know. I understand maybe if you think he's innocent, but even going to the wedding is still got to be weird.
Yeah, I agree.
And then be like rah for the wedding, like, okay.
Yeah,
weird.
It's a little weird, but there's a little twist and turn.
Oh, let me buckle up.
We're gonna fast forward to 2008.
All right.
Susan's sister, Martha Niels, randomly calls a press conference where she accused her now ex-husband John of killing Susan and the kids. She urged the Bloomington Police Department to reopen the case and described her ex as being extremely mentally unstable. At the time of the murders, she had told police that her husband had been home the entire night, but now was claiming that he had actually left the house that night to supposedly lift weights.
So she's saying that her brother-in-law killed her.
Yeah. So this woman, Martha, used to be married to this man, John.
Okay.
She's claiming he murdered Susan and the kids.
And John's relation is...
He would have been Susan's brother-in-law.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And the uncle to the children.
Okay, yes, sorry.
Yeah.
I was just trying to understand. Got it.
Now, apparently John was very jealous of David's money and success. In fact, Martha was not invited to that baby shower that Susan had attended the night of the murder because of the tension in their relationship due to her husband's dislike of David. She had spent that entire night upset and crying. Was it possible that John was avenging his wife? And which seems a little extreme. But if he's extremely mentally unstable and he already didn't like David and was jealous of him, you know.
I guess that's possible.
It's possible, but I don't know. Would that be enough of a motive to murder Susan and all three children?
Absolutely fucking not.
Definitely not.
No.
There is an alleged story that he came home with bloody scrubs the night of the murders and had asked Martha to wash them. But that doesn't really make sense and jive with the lifting weights story, so I'm not really sure about that. Like, that makes me question Martha.
Also,
if she's giving two different...
Where were they with this alleged evidence at the time of the investigation? Like, where, do we have any sources?
No, this is all coming out in 2008.
Oh, okay.
So none of this came out. Martha is saying all of this, like, 30 years later, essentially.
I don't like that that's that late. Like, for me, like, what's the excuse? What's the reasoning? Why now? Who pissed you off to make something happen? Is it even credible now? It's just, I don't know.
Now, back to the alleged story with the bloody scrubs.
Yes.
John did work at a local hospital at the time, and Martha stated that he had claimed they came from a doctor who was later discovered to not even work there. But again, this was all kind of...
Hearsay?
I think so.
Okay, yeah.
So who really knows? But there was no evidence to any of this at all. And I do, again, wonder why Martha waited so incredibly long to claim all of these things. And then now they're like differing stories, so...
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't know about her. Ultimately, the police did not reopen the case, and it is still completely unsolved to this day.
I hate that.
Yeah, so what do you think?
I think...
Do you think it was the dad? I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, to be honest, I'm sorry. I asked you what you thought, and then I just kind of...
Viewers, if you could see, and I guess you wouldn't be viewing it because you're listening. Oh man, if you can...
Okay, so yeah, go ahead and tell me what you think. I'm going to...
Well, I think that you were onto something. Yeah, I think that you were making sense out of something I probably would have thought. So if you want to go ahead and put those thoughts back together for me.
So what... I am more in the mindset of random. Like random serial killer or, psycho.
Yeah, because I just think of how much evil is inside of you without having a real motive. I mean, here's the thing. I'm not a murderer. I'm not a serial or a psycho. A serial killer or a psycho.
That's great. I appreciate that.
Yes, you're welcome. But I would say that would need a reason to kill somebody. I know there is people that just do it for no sheer reason, and I know that's a thing, but I don't know, man. I just don't see it being a excuse that jives with me very well.
I mean, David was acquitted, so there must have been enough evidence to acquit him. Therefore, I don't really know that I think it was him, but I don't know that I'm definitely not thinking it wasn't him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because on the flip side, there's always evidence to convict somebody that's innocent.
Correct, and I will say this was 1983, so like the DNA wasn't where it was, and all like the kind of like police work has definitely, evolved over time.
Yeah, I would love to see any progression in the case since it is unsolved.
Well, and the last time, as far as I know, that they even delved into it was 2008, so it might be time to reopen the case.
Look, if Lady Gaga and Beyonce and Taylor Swift and potentially Rihanna, if all of them can have albums, the core four, I think we can solve some fucking murders, people.
Let's solve some murders.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right.
All right, my sources for today's story on the Queen Mary are the Travel and Leisure's website on the Queen Mary, Wikipedia's website article for this, QueenMary.com's history article, and CN Traveler's website on the Queen Mary.
And my sources for the Hendricks murder were thecrimewire.com. I did an article by IWUArgus.com and the MidwestCrimeFiles.com, and I will have my full notes in the show credits.
Awesome. Well, Tiffany, thank you again for being here today. We have absolutely loved having you.
Loved it.
It's been amazing. And one more time, I want to give you the floor to talk about anything that's on your mind related to your book, your podcast, your life, or just whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for having me. It's definitely been interesting. And it's funny to know, like, I find myself like, I'm not really into this. Remember, that's what I told you. And then I visited the Queen Mary, and then I'm actually really interested in this story about the Hendricks family, and it reminded me of American. Is it American Horror Story? Is it called?
American Nightmare. American Nightmare. Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? I am kind of into this and interested in this. You guys made it really compelling to listen to too.
Well, thank you.
Of course.
Appreciate that.
Just as it relates to my book and podcasts that I'm trying to get help with, seeing you guys do it, it makes me feel really good. So you have helped to inspire me.
Well, thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that.
But just excited to be able to talk connected conversations with people, because it's not just about my story. It's whatever part in that story you relate to. The purpose of the book was just if I could be open and vulnerable and allow for that energy to flow where we can have these connected conversations. I think we all would just be in a better place if we learn to empathize from where others are.
I agree with you. 1,000%. Well, thank you. That's beautiful.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
All right, friends. Well, as always, thank you for joining us on our little eerie expedition.
We know your time is precious, and you can listen to any of the thousands of podcasts out there, but here you are choosing us yet again for episode 6, and we thank you. Renee, before we go, do you have anything you want to get off your chest? You're looking like you have something to say.
You know what? Beyond schwa, I do.
What is it?
Mystery doesn't sleep.
And neither do we.
Bye, bitch! Humor, haunts, and homicide.